Here is your Chapter 5 review for the midterm on Newton's third law of motion. So what is Newton's third law of motion? For every action force, there is an equal and opposite reaction force. Number 4, what is an action force and a reaction force? It's when object A pushes on object B also pushes back on object A. 3, can you compare the forces and the acceleration for scenarios relating to the third law? So an example is when a bug hits a car windshield. What are the action-reaction forces? Compare the forces, compare the acceleration, and what is the final result? So the action-reaction forces is the bug hitting the car and the car pushing back on the bug. And comparing the forces, they are equal. Comparing the accelerations, they are different because the masses that those forces are being applied to are very different. So the bug, which has a smaller mass, is going to have a greater acceleration, and the car that has the larger mass is going to have the smaller acceleration. And the final result is that huge acceleration on the bug is probably going to cause the bug to die. And the car is not even going to really notice the impact of that force from the bug. The second scenario is when you use an oar to paddle a canoe. The action-reaction forces are the oar pushing on the water and the water pushing back on the oar. Comparing the forces, they are equal. Comparing the accelerations, they are going to be different. So you are going to notice and compare the oar is going to have a different mass, than a smaller mass than the entire body of water. So the water is going to end up pushing the acceleration of the boat or the little canoe is going to be larger than the acceleration on the water, even though you might be able to see both the canoe moving forward as well as the water being pushed back. Number 2, what are the common names for all of Newton's laws of motion? So the first one is the law of inertia, the second one is the law of acceleration, and the third one is law of action-reaction forces. And number 1, can you identify which of Newton's 3 laws dominate in various scenarios? See which law worksheet from class, which is done in the last lesson of the year. So since it should be one of the last things that you've done in class, it should be fresh in your mind. So that wraps up the Chapter 5 review.